gentlemen, welcome aboard the Athletics Can't Wait Jets podcast, your nonstop shop for all things Jets. Now here are your hosts, Tim McMaster and Connor Hughes. Listen safely.
Can't wait.
Welcome in to another edition of the Can't Wait podcast. Tim McMaster here, along with the Athletics Jets reporter Connor Hughes and our producer Marissa Morris. Week 2 of OTAs, Connor and the media allowed to watch 2 days of practice. The Jets are kind of kissing up to the media, I guess, this year, trying to get on the good side, allowing you guys into 2 practices this week, 2 more next week. We'll fill you in on everything that's going on there, the rookies, the veterans, who was there, who wasn't, why they weren't there. But you may notice, you probably don't, but you may notice if you're watching us on YouTube that we look crisper because we are bringing it to you in 1080p for the first time. Exciting development here on the YouTube stream of the Can't Wait podcast. Thanks for tuning in, whether it's YouTube or Apple, wherever you listen. We love reviews, so give us 5 stars there as well. Connor, 2 chances to look at this team this week, but I feel like you're frustrated today, but you're not allowed to talk about it yet.
No, I'm not. Well, we could go into the gorgeous ticket that I received on my way home from practice today. That could be one thing we could talk about, or we could just talk about our lives and enjoy ourselves a little bit. But going back on that last episode and reading through the YouTube comments, I was eviscerated. I mean, I haven't been bullied that bad since elementary school. Like, seriously, like Ryan, I'm not going to say his last name, was the last person that bullied me as bad as the people in that comment section. I mean, it was a massacre. And I think what blew my mind the most is that all the people that were ripping us for like the starting of like how we started the show and like kind of just having a fun conversation and getting back in the rhythm of things, back in the bachelor party, back all that, trying to get ourselves going again. They weren't people that were in like this live chat that had to endure it. They were people that there's like YouTube has like a fast forward button. They have like just jump 10 seconds. They could have pressed that like 6 times and it would have been over. And they could have just gotten to the Zach Wilson. I mean, one kid's like, I'm going to jump off a bridge if you don't start your Zach Wilson talks. It was a massacre. So We'll get to the ticket that I got, which is complete and total bullshit that I literally have to go to court for a $100 ticket that I got no points for. I have to go to court like to plead my case that I don't want to plead them. Just let me pay my fine.
Didn't you just say, yeah. do you know who I am? Don't you know who I am?
I did drop that line because the guy didn't give me a chance. He didn't give me a chance to drop that line. He was like, here's your ticket. Goodbye. I was like, I have no point. I've never been in trouble before. I'm a good boy. It's 10 years I've been driving. No, 12 years I've been driving. And I don't have a single point or infraction. And they're treating me like I just murdered someone. But okay, yeah, we're going to go on. All Jets talk. That's it. That's all the rambling and we're done. So hopefully the YouTube community doesn't just burn me alive on a stake like they did the last one. Brutal. But you know what? I'm laughing all the way to the bank because we got like 17,000 views on that episode, a new career high. So yeah, all right, rip me all you want if you keep clicking the download button.
We're getting
I'm laughing to the bank. We don't even get this. It goes to the Athletic.
All right, so we're 3 minutes in, and we're going to get right to the Jet stuff. So that should keep everybody happy. Yeah, here we go. So as we will probably always start these things, we got to start with Zach Wilson. But I mentioned there's a lot of other stuff to get to. But as far as Zach goes, last week the big story was this guy doesn't look like a rookie. He looks so comfortable making all the great throws. And a lot of that on Wednesday, too. Saleh did say before the practice today that, you know, the one thing you like to see what he can do in is the red zone, which they did a little bit of that on Wednesday when things move quicker for a quarterback. But then today, Connor, after a good start, he actually looked like a rookie a little bit, which is obviously not something we should be concerned about at this point. And in some ways, it's almost like, well, at least he's human early on. But just explain what that means. He kind of looked like a rookie today.
You have 2 hats on the back wall now.
Oh, yeah. Next week, 3.
Yeah, there we go. We're keep this going, see how many hats we can get on Tim's wall. Yeah, I think so. I think it's cool what Saleh's done. And we don't, like, we're getting an extra day of access, which is, I mean, I covered kind of the tail end of Rex and then obviously all of Todd and all of Adam. You only ever got the 1 week OTAs. Even when I covered the Giants for that offseason, it was 1 day a week of OTAs, then all of mandatory minicamp, and then obviously you started with everything during training camp. So it was kind of weird to get the text message from Rich and Brian, and they were like, hey, we're going to get an extra day. There's going to be no player access and no Saleh access in terms of like press conference, but we'll be able to watch practice, which is really cool when you're dealing with a rookie because, you know, and especially when you're kind of wanting to see how they go in and out, like how do they respond from a bad day? How do they respond from a good day? You want to see those things when you only see 1 day a week. I mean, you don't know if you got the one bad practice or if you got the one good practice. So I think this week when we got to see 2, we got a little bit of a mix of it. I mean, I thought Zach was significantly better on Wednesday than he was today. And I don't think he was bad today. He just had more bad moments today than what he did on Wednesday. I mean, Wednesday it was the same 2 team drills that the Jets do and then an abundance of 7-on-7, but he was very precise in the red zone. He was very committed in the red zone. There wasn't too much of the we're taking a chance here, we're kind of slowing down, I'm double hitching, anything like that. I mean, it was a lot of the ball's in his hand, he sees his receiver, he gets the ball there. He attacked a bit down the field. I mean, he came very, very close to a gorgeous deep ball down the seam to Braxton Berrios. The ball went just off of Berrios' hands. He probably should have caught it. In fact, Jamison Crowder probably does catch it. But I think Wednesday was one of those days where, again, you didn't think he was a rookie. It was a day where he looked comfortable. It was a day where he was accurate. It was a day where, again, we saw the laser beam throw and then also the touch pass, because there was one on like this little skinny post deep in that he threw to Elijah Moore on Wednesday, not counting the one that we saw today, which was just an Elijah Moore spectacle. But there was like this little skinny post that he threw on Wednesday, which he like 100 miles per hour, just right into Elijah Moore, get the ball in his hands and let him go run and let him go do those things. Like get the ball in his hands, let him go. We saw that. Then later on in practice, Michael Carter ran a little wheel route up the sideline, and Zach Wilson, as he was like backtracking, just flicked his wrist, dropped it probably 20, 25 yards down the field, but right in Michael Carter's hands. And it is sometimes uncommon when you have a young rookie quarterback that has the arm strength that Zach Wilson does. It's a little uncommon for them to be able to throw the changeup as well, because, and this was that Christian Hackenberg problem, this was sometimes a Bryce Petty problem, is that these guys would, I know they were later round picks than what Wilson was, but these guys knew they had the fastball. So it was almost like Sean Doolittle, where it was like fastball, 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 fastball. And they were just pumping it, like constantly throwing the fastball. That sometimes when it's like a 3-yard hitch, you don't need the 100-mile-per-hour fastball. You can easily just get it to the guy and let him move it in space. So to see Zach have that ability and that arm talent and that arm maturity to know, okay, this is a moment where I got to zip it in there, or no, this is a moment where I kind of want to pull it back a little bit and we're just going to lob it. I think that's a really great sign, and we saw a lot of that on Wednesday. We saw some accuracy within the red zone. We saw him getting the ball to his guys in space. We saw comfortability in the team drills. It was a very, very, very good day Wednesday. I thought a better day Wednesday than what we saw week 1 Zach Wilson. Today on Friday, the Jets, obviously this is OTA, so every single day is going to be a little bit more install, a little bit more information, a little bit more put on his plate. And especially because this is the last practice of this week OTAs, they're going to ramp it up even a little bit more. Today wasn't as good. And what I mean by that is I think there was a little bit more hesitation from him as the practice went on. There was a little bit more indecisiveness as the practice went on. There was a miscommunication throw, which I'll get to in a second, but it wasn't as crisp and as smooth. I wouldn't go as far as to say like, oh, he looked like a bust, or he looked like a rookie. But it was one of those rookie practices where you see some really, really good, then you see some really, really bad. Then you see some really, really good, and then you see some really, really bad. You know, it started, like you said, Tim, red hot. I mean, the Jets brought everyone together for their first set of 11-on-11 team drills, as has been the case the last couple of days. It's all scripted. So it went run, and then Zach Wilson threw. And the pass that he threw, it was a hit your back foot, rifle it through, and he got it to Elijah Moore on an absolute line. And when Elijah Moore caught that ball, it was like a deep in, so like 10 yards, plant your right foot, cut in. He beat Bryce Hall like bad. Like he beat Bryce Hall bad with the move, made the grab and accelerated up the field and outran the entire defense to get there. Now I know like Bless Austin wasn't there. I know that the Jets obviously don't have Marcus May. They're missing a slew of players on their defense, but to see him run away from everyone, to see him run away from NFL talent, we'll get to Elijah Moore in a bit, but the Jets haven't had a player like him in a good long while. And the Jets went from that 11-on-11 series to a red zone drill where it was Zach Wilson working inside the 10-yard line. I think they were about the 5. You couldn't tell exactly because of the vantage point we had. But it went 5 passes for Zach Wilson, 5 touchdowns. He hit Vincent Smith. I think it was Vincent Smith, Ty Johnson, Michael Carter, Braxton Berrios, and Elijah Moore were the 5 touchdowns. And that was kind of, though, where the good feelings ended, because then on the next set of team drills, it was rough. You know, he missed Keelan Cole wide open down the right sideline, overshot him, Matt Cole a little bit. Then Matt Cole also dropped one. Then the Jets ran the ball. In the next set of 7-on-7 drills, he threw an ugly interception to JT Hassel, who happened I think it was Daniel Brown going down the seam. And I don't know if Zach Wilson expected Daniel Brown to turn around. I don't know if Daniel Brown ran the right route. Zach Wilson saw it wrong, but Hassel undercut the route, picked it off, and ran it back in 7-on-7 drills. In the next 7-on-7 drills in the red zone, again, Zach Wilson missed a pass to the right side. I believe it was to Matt Cole. Should have thrown another interception to CJ Mosley, who made a beautiful break to close a window on the middle of the field. Should have been another interception. Did come back with a touchdown to Denzel Mims. When you're throwing 5 passes from inside the 5-yard line, you'd expect some touchdowns in 7-on-7 drills. So Wednesday I thought was really, really good. Today was probably more of that like up and down rookie performance that you'd expect. It's nothing to panic about. It's nothing really to worry about, in my opinion. I think it's honestly just one of those things where you're going to see the rookie curve. You're going to see the rookie learning curve where it's going to be a wave for a while, and you're going to see him look really, really good. You're going to see him have really, really bad moments. And now it's just about how he responds. Media is going to be in attendance for Tuesday's practice, which I'm really excited for because the last time we saw him was bad. Let's see how he builds on it, learns from it, watches the film, and then gets back out there with his teammates.
Well, you mentioned Elijah Moore, so we should get into that. And we'll talk about Crowder, too. Those two kind of go together. But first, Moore, who's at practice. And you mentioned the one play. But overall, beyond that burst of speed today on that first reception, it's really been 3 straight practices, right, where this guy has shown flashes of what I think we kind of expected to see in this environment. It's still 7-on-7s, and it's kind of wide open. We'll see how he does against full defenses and all of that. But the rookie is impressed. He's shown the speed and the looks that we expected.
Every day he's getting a little better. I think that's probably the best way to describe Elijah Moore. And, you know, this college season was weird because, like, the games were kind of weird. Who was playing was kind of weird. There was no NFL scouting combine. I mean, it was a funky season. That's kind of the only way that you can really describe 2020, both collegiately, and in the NFL. I mean, it was odd. And I haven't really felt less prepared when it comes to evaluating college talent than I necessarily have this year. You know, a lot of these players the Jets were drafting, you're kind of hearing about them for the first time because of how many opt-outs there were. I mean, like Jamar Chase, for example, like he didn't even play this year. He opted out. Guy's a top 10 pick, and you know, they're talking about him being better than Stephon Diggs and better than Justin Jefferson and all this stuff, and we just haven't seen him play. So I think this one was the most funky offseason just because you didn't really know it. So when the Jets drafted Elijah Moore, like I called people about him. I made talks. I talked to scouts. I talked to executive, talked to some talent evaluators, talked to people over at the Jets what they thought. And I saw how excited they were. And not just publicly, not just what you saw with the video in the war room. I mean, they openly, whoever you asked, were like, I can't believe we got Elijah Moore. Like, it was like, obviously they're thrilled about Zach Wilson, but they knew where they're getting Zach Wilson. They love Alijah Vera-Tucker, but they traded up to go get Alijah Vera-Tucker. The fact that Elijah Moore fell to them when they did, there are people within that building that still need to be pinched because they can't believe it's true. So when you're hearing these things, for me, I was like, let's see what the kid can do. Like, is he really just an athletic guy where he's like, get in the space, watch him move like a Percy Harvin, Deebo Samuel type, or is he more of like a really technically sound receiver who can also do those Samuel, Percy Harvin type things? Like, what kind of a player did the Jets get? Because all I heard was quick, agile, athletic, explosive. And obviously those are good things to hear, but you want to see it. The first OTA that we watched, he didn't do that much. He had an end around that he had where you saw some of that burst around the side, and he caught a touchdown in 7-on-7 drills, but that was it. The 2 days that we saw him this week, you saw that explosiveness. You saw that quickness. You saw that acceleration. You saw exactly why Robert Saleh was pounding the table in the draft room screaming, let's go, man, because they got him. I mean, I've covered this team every training camp practice since 2016. I've covered some variation of this team since 2014, 2015. I've seen a lot of guys come in here, and I've seen a lot of guys leave here. I've seen a lot of the next great thing come in here. I've seen a lot of the ha-ha-ha get cut like a year later. I don't think I've ever seen anyone as explosive in a Jets uniform as this kid is. And it's early. I've only seen him practice 3 times. A lot can change. Injuries can happen. This can happen. That can happen. But he has explosiveness, speed, acceleration, and agility and excitement, I would say, that just hasn't been around here. You know, the Jets have had good receivers since I've been on the beat, at different points since I've been on the beat in 14. Like, you know, Brandon Marshall was a ridiculous receiver, but he was like that 6'3", 6'4", physically imposing just beast. I mean, that was like his handle, wasn't it, on Twitter, like the Beast? He was like a physically imposing beast. Eric Decker was a hell of a receiver, but he was like a technician. Like, he wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the strongest, he wasn't like the most agile or athletic, but he was so technically sound and such a route technician that he would get open that way. Jeremy Curley was a good player. Quincy Enunwa was an athletic freak, but wasn't really a sound receiver because he always dealt with those drops. What this kid can do is just, it's ridiculous. And he's only going to get better. And the fact that he's doing this now, when he still needs to get NFL coaching, Miles Austin's Monmouth Pride, Miles Austin, still needs to work with him and improve it. Like, it's impressive. Like, obviously, you see his route running by the goal line, because the last 2 days OTAs that we've watched, there's been a lot, 2 drills each day of 7-on-7 goal line, both on the far end of the end zone and then the close end of the end zone. His ability to work within space is remarkably impressive. I mean, when he's one-on-one with a defensive back, and I know the Jets DBs stink and they're not any good, especially when he's going up against the second team guys. I mean, like Eckel and all these, like, they're not going to stick with Elijah Moore. They shouldn't. I mean, it's almost like, and it was one of the Samini was like, man, it's like an expansion secondary out there at times. It was a great line. These guys should be getting open, but they can't stick with them in such short space. Like, whether it's like the in-out, like whatever moves he's doing to put on these defensive backs, he's constantly getting open. I mean, he caught 3 touchdowns in Wednesday's practice. He caught another touchdown today when Zach Wilson was off and Denzel Mims was in, so Denzel Mims was taking some reps. He's just so hard to defend in that short area because it's almost like you have to keep up with him, and he's so quick and he's so agile that he can't. And then that catch that he made on the 3rd play of practice, on the 3rd play of full team drills in practice, there's been one player that I've seen break away from a defense like that, and it was Odell Beckham. When I covered the Giants I covered Odell's rookie year. And when I watched Odell rookie minicamp, watched Odell OTAs and stuff like that before he coincidentally hurt his hamstring and was sidelined for a large portion of the beginning portion of that year, he would do things after he caught the ball where there was like another gear. Like, you see fast guys, like Robbie Anderson was fast, but like there's a 0 to 60, like that torque that some guys have and some guys don't. And when Elijah Moore made that grab on the deep end where he went 10 yards up, planted his right foot, caught the ball from Zach Wilson away from Bryce Hall, and then cut again and got up the field. It wasn't like he was running around. It was like a deep in, catch the ball, get the F up the field. His ability to catch ball and then burst, when I tell you, it was like he caught the ball and there's like 2 yards of separation from the defense. Then it's 5 yards of separation. Then it's 10 yards. Then it's 15 yards. Then it's literally Elijah Moore running to the end zone while the rest of the defenders are just watching him run there. That acceleration, that excitement, that explosiveness, that hasn't been here in Florham Park, here at One Jets Drive, as long as I've been on the beat since 14. I haven't seen a player with that. I've seen good receivers like Marshall, good receivers like Decker, good receivers like Curley and Enunwa at times. I've never seen somebody like that is the perfect blend of speed, acceleration, explosiveness, hands, route running, everything. And watching him practice these last 3 days, and I know it's early, and I'm not trying to jump to conclusions, but like, oh, he's a Pro Bowl receiver, he's a stud. So much can happen to derail this guy's career. You know who else had a great OTAs and beginning part of minicamp? Devin Smith. The guy looked great, couldn't cover him. Look what the hell happened to him. Like, a bad Geno Smith pass, which broke his ribs and punctured his lung, basically ended that guy's career. So things can change, obviously, but what I'm seeing from Elijah Moore now, what I'll say is I literally cannot wait to see this guy in training camp. I can't wait to see this guy in the preseason, and I can't wait till we get to the regular season to see what he looks like there, because I wrote this as my lead to the practice report today. He's never going to be the most popular player on the field. He's never going to be the most exciting player, or he's never going to be the most popular player on the field. He's never going to be the most noteworthy player. He's never going to steal all of the headlines or all the spotlight. But through these 3 practices we've seen throughout these 2 weeks of OTAs, Elijah Moore is the best player on the field. Like, I don't think that's a question.
Wow.
And I know Denzel Mims is out. Denzel Mims obviously isn't on the field. Carl Lawson is on the field. Corey Davis isn't on the field. Like, the Jets are missing a slew of players. But Elijah Moore is the best player on the field. Like, I don't think I don't think that can be debated or is debatable based off these 3 practices that we as the media have seen.
Wow, high praise. And of course, receivers tend to, as rookies, struggle a bit anyway. So we'll see how he does in all those other environments. But wow, to say that he's the most talented guy on the field right now, that's impressive. All right,
if I'm Jamison Crowder, I'm getting back soon. Like, we'll talk about Crowder in a second, but if I'm Crowder, I want to get back. Like, this is getting to the point now where like Crowder's going to come back, and it's like, good player, like you, but like, we can't take him off the field. Like, it's one of those things where you want to just keep feeding him the ball, because you want him to keep getting better. You want him to keep progressing. You want to see what's going to happen next. That's the kind of player he is. It's like, You want to see what he does next. And I kind of want to see if he can stretch the field. Like, is he a guy that can get deep, get behind the defense? Because we haven't seen that yet. A lot of his catches have been intermediate, making it work within the red zone, or like this deep crosser, stuff like that. I want to see him go deep. I've only seen it once. It was the first OTA practice, and who was it, 26? I think I threw away my roster, was the guy who broke it up. So, I mean, I want to see a little bit more of that, but I can't wait to see what's next for the kid, because he's doing some impressive things.
I do want to get to Crowder, but since we are live on YouTube and we get to see what people want to talk about, we'll switch things around a little bit here, because a lot of chatter about CJ Mosley. So let's go there first, and then we'll circle back about the guys who were not at practice today. And Mosley was the big question mark, right? I mean, this guy has played 3 quarters in 2 years, sat out last year because of the pandemic. And the word from Jeff Ulbrich today was, there's no rust on this guy. A lot of talk about the leadership and everything. What did you see out at practice today from CJ Mosley, Connor?
Same thing I've seen the first 2 days. A guy that's running around. A guy that is, and as Ulbrich said, there's no signs of rust. And that's kind of what I was curious about. We also talked to Jared Davis, who said, no, I don't see anything either, because that's kind of what I wanted to see. I wanted to see CJ on the field and see if he looked slow. You know, like Le'Veon took a year off, and Le'Veon came back, and Le'Veon looked slow. I wanted to see if that was Mosley. Like, was there hesitation? Was his reaction slowed down a little bit? Was his reading the defense, was that slowed down? Was he a little off at all with like his leadership? Maybe because he'd been gone for the last 2 years, maybe he didn't feel like speaking up. Was that there? Instead, there's none of it. There's no lack of speed. There's no lack of acceleration. There's no lack of leadership. Everything that he did for those 3 quarters against the Bills, that's kind of what we've seen in OTAs to this part. And yeah, look, I mean, there's no pads. I mean, this is kind of a very vanilla offense against a very vanilla defense, as everyone kind of figures this thing out. But this Robert Saleh defense is also kind of tailor-made to players like Davis and Mosley, because it's a don't think, just attack. Don't think, just react kind of a defense. And when you have somebody that is as intelligent as Mosley is, and you let him have that freedom, he's going to constantly find himself around the ball. And I think that's what you're starting to see in OTAs a lot, is you're seeing a guy that is constantly around the ball. And the best play for me that I saw from him today, and the leadership is there. Like Ulbrich called him an alpha personality. I think he called, what was it? I got to find the quote that I tweeted out as I scroll down. He called him authentic and an alpha leader. Said he's so excited about CJ and what he brings to the defense, and that he doesn't see any rust at all. I think the play of the day for me, and what I saw where I was like, that's a linebacking play that we haven't seen in a while, was when the Jets were in that 7-on-7 red zone drill. I can't recall, because I couldn't really see. I was too impressed with Mosley's play, who the tight end was. But the Jets were trying to run like this little route over the middle of the field. And it was like from the 5-yard line, I think it was like the tight end kind of makes like a little outside move, then comes in and sits down like right in the middle of basically right in front of the quarterback. It's like a bang play. Like if left and right isn't open, just fire one quick into the tight end's gut. He falls down, touchdown. Like the Jets scored on a similar play to Ryan Griffin earlier. They scored on a touchdown to Denzel Mims on a similar route. They ran another one on Wednesday, I think it was, to Chris Herndon, who caught the touchdown in the middle. I mean, they ran it several times. Mosley went from the left side of the formation, read the play, shot across the field, and like nearly came away with the interception. But what was impressive was the speed in which he closed on the route, the speed in which he went from I'm on the left side to now I'm in the middle to now I'm breaking it away. That was like vintage CJ, if you will. And I think because Mosley got that almost $90 million contract and then really hasn't played, it's easy to forget how good this guy was before he got hurt and before he opted out. I mean, he was probably the second best linebacker in the NFL, not named Luke Kuechly, from 2015 through 2018. I mean, this was a guy that made the Pro Bowl 4 or 5 years. This was a guy that was second team All-Pro 4 or 5 years. And if it wasn't for Luke Kuechly, he would have been first team All-Pro. I mean, he was a ferocious leader. He was a guy that was so ridiculously football intelligent that he just knew how to set all of his teammates up and set himself up. He was athletic. He could rush the passer. He could play coverage. He could do everything. And he was why the Jets labeled him both Adam Gase and Mike Maccagnan an A-plus free agent and could not believe he was out there in free agency, which is why Maccagnan and Gase made such the consistent pursuit to bring him on, because they knew what he'd mean for the locker room. They knew what he'd mean for the defense, and they knew what he'd mean for being on the field. And unfortunately, Jet fans have only gotten a chance to see that for 3 quarters. There were only 3 quarters of vintage CJ Mosley. And for those 3 quarters, it was goddamn good. But then he hurt his groin breaking up this gorgeous pass down the middle of the seam. The Jets end up losing the game strictly because CJ Mosley leaves the field. And then obviously he tries to come back, gets hurt again or wasn't right. And then he opts out of 2020. But I think the fact you're getting him back on this defense, the fact that there doesn't seem to be any signs of rust, the fact that he's healthy, he's motivated, and he's playing within a defense that is perfectly built to accentuate his strengths, I think you're going to see very much this year, assuming he stays healthy, you're going to see what $85 million gets you, and you're going to see a damn good player. And I wrote this as well today. The biggest addition that the Jets made on defense, or the biggest addition to the Jets defense this year, might be the player that they signed 2 years ago. And it's that he is that talented when he's on. And if he's that on, you're going to see a guy that literally makes the 10 other people on that field better.
All right, we are going to talk about Mekhi Becton and the backup quarterback situation. But first, a message from Magic Spoon. Growing up, cereal was one of the best parts of being a kid, but I had to give it up because I realized it was full of sugar and junk that you really shouldn't be eating. Yes, gluten. And full of lots of gluten.
That goddamn gluten.
But until Magic Spoon came along, which is keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low-carb, and GMO-free. There are 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving, and only 140 calories per serving. And we have some exciting news. Magic Spoon has released its super delicious flavor, birthday cake. Magic Spoon birthday cake will be available in a special 5-pack for a limited time only, so get it while you can. Or you can build your own box. Available flavors to build your own custom bundle include cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, and cinnamon. And if you're listening from Canada, Magic Spoon now ships there as well. So go to magicspoon.com/wait to grab the limited edition birthday cake or a custom bundle of cereal to try it today. And be sure to use our promo code WAIT at checkout to save $5 off your order. This offer is now good anywhere in the US or Canada, but only when you use our code at checkout. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/wait and use the code WAIT to save $5 off. We thank Magic Spoon for sponsoring this episode.
One more sponsor. Sign up today with BetMGM, the exclusive betting partner of The Athletic, and get a $1,000 risk-free first bet. Plus, get a free 3-month subscription to The Athletic. Just sign up at betmgm.com/TAWAIT. That's TAWAIT to take advantage of this special offer from the king of sportsbooks. That's betmgm.com/TAWAIT. New customer offer only. Paid in bonus dollars. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. Must be 21 years of age or older to wager. Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, or West Virginia only. Excludes Michigan disassociated persons. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, Nevada, and Virginia. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan. 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. And 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. In Tennessee, call or text the red line at 800-889-9789. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. Promotional offer not available in Nevada.
Did Michael sell his, not gambling issues, but did Michael sell his AMC stock, or was he still holding on to that, Marissa? Because I know I was texting him about, did he get rid of it, or did he still have it for when this went down?
Yeah, he does not have it anymore, and I've heard lots about it. How he regrets
he had a
selling
lot.
it.
He had more than me. I know. Yeah. I haven't told Bree yet. So when AMC obviously went through
we waited 29 minutes without a diversion.
But that's fine. I think if people are, I gave the people their Zach Wilson and their Elijah Moore crap. They can let me talk a little AMC for a second. When the original GameStop AMC explosion was happening, they Michael Dunn, Marissa's fiance, and I were we were in on it big, and I bought many shares of AMC. And then I had gotten Bree in on it too. Like Bree was like, okay, give me like 10 shares of AMC. This is when it was like 10 or $11. And I bought it. I watched it go up to like 20. Then it came back down to like 12, 13, and it was starting to drop. So I was like, you know what? Just take the profit and sell it, bought into something else. Bryce Huff, the Jets defensive lineman, was apparently very in on this AMC thing. And I saw him start retweeting AMC to the moon like 2 days ago. I was like, what the hell is he tweeting about AMC for? I thought that was dead. I open it up, I see it's like $60 a share. Like I missed out on like a lot of money. Like there was like a lot left there. So anyone who's been taking my draft or my stock tips with, Connor Day Trader, I think we need to pull that one back in. I'll go back to OTA observations because I missed a big chance there.
Yeah,
the ship has left for the moon, and Connor.
Someone said I gambled away my magic, or I gambled away my magic spoon. I think I might have.
You know who needs to eat less magic spoon? Mekhi Becton, apparently. Yeah. How's that for a transition?
Very good.
All right,
Nothing Tim loves more than a good transition.
So Becton was at practice today, was seen on the field, but not participating. Hasn't participated basically since the first practice. He has this foot injury, plantar fasciitis. I got it.
Plantar fasciitis.
That's the Boston. That's the Boston version. Yeah. Anyway.
You say that with your pinky out?
So you, Connor, asked Robert Saleh about Becton before practice today, and Saleh gave kind of it was an interesting answer because I think if you listen between the lines, there's a little bit more to it. But let's play that, and then we'll talk a little bit about it.
No, that's a good question, Connor. It's every player. When you take care of your body, when you're in shape, and you're doing all the things that you need to do you think about it. Their body is their moneymaker, right? And the amount of investment that you put into your body is the amount that it'll give back. And so that's part of the learning progression of young men. They've got to learn how to take care of their bodies. They've got to learn how to eat right, work out right, rest right, regen right, staying hydrated, and all those different things that lead to longevity in this league. And Mekhi is one of those. He's a young man. He's a very talented young man. He's a very large young man, and he's learning every day on what it takes to be a professional and how to make that next step. And so we got a lot of faith in him. He's doing all the right things right now, and we're excited to get him to training camp and get to work with him.
He finished it with the nice thing.
Might as well just told him to call Jenny.
Right. He's doing all the right things right now. Makes you think like, okay, but he hasn't been doing all the right things for the entire off season, right? Like that's what I read into that, is this guy is not in the shape they want him to be. How'd he look, Connor? You saw him in person.
Big. I mean, but that's like what we've said about Mekhi forever. And I think what's most alarming with this, and I honestly mean it, like the thing I think that's most alarming is that we have been talking about this guy's weight since they drafted him. Like draft night, we're doing like the conference call with Mekhi Becton, and we're talking to him about how much he weighs and does he want to lose. And I remember him telling us that like he had talked to his trainer and they had figured out like it wasn't how much he was eating, it was what he was eating. So they changed that. He was like, I'm good now. I'm good. It's like, I wasn't eating the right food. But then like camp rolls around and we're talking about his weight again, and like no one ever wants to put a number on it. No one ever wants to say like we want him to weigh this, we want him to weigh that. It's always like, oh, it's about marrying explosiveness and power, and everyone's weighting different. It's just so that he's still fast and I can manage, like everybody's body's different, blah, 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 like whatever. We talked about it in training camp last year. We talked about it before the regular season. We talked about it during the regular season. We talked about it after the season. We talked about it with Robert Saleh like 2 weeks ago about his weight, or like when he had a random media availability with us, we were talking about Mekhi's weight. The fact that it's been a full year and this guy still does not have his weight under control is a major red flag. And there's no doubt that some of those weight issues, because he was overweight last year. Like that's a fact. I know that for a fact from talking to people over there. Mekhi was overweight the majority of last season. And the majority of last season, he missed time every single game. I mean, it became a running joke of when is Mekhi going to leave the game? Because he's not going to play every snap. So at what point is he going to come out? Is it going to be for the second quarter? Is it going to be for a series in the third? Is it going to be the first? I mean, he dealt with all these various ailments. And sometimes when you are that big and when you are overweight, the human body can only carry so much pounds. Like there's only so many pounds the human body can carry. before it starts to break down and starts to have issues. And when the Jets drafted Mekhi Becton, I remember making calls to a lot of the people that I knew around the league, and I wrote about this today. And it was, or what I got back from the majority of the people that I trust was, there is no doubting his physical ability. He is an athletic freak. He's strong as an ox. He has talent, and he has the ability to be an all-pro. But the concern that almost everyone I talked to had was, he is so big, and there were weight concerns with him at Louisville. And when you are that big of a human, when you are an offensive lineman that has weight concerns, when you are built that big and you carry too much weight and you can never get your weight under control, it leads to injuries. And the biggest red flag of an overweight offensive lineman with an injury is the foot. When you have a lineman that is struggling with weight, when you have a lineman that doesn't have his weight in control, and then he starts dealing with foot issues, that is red flag number one, because what it means is that the body is too big to support, which is why your foot starts dealing with issues. So when we are now in not even training camp, we're in OTAs of year 2, and Mekhi's already dealing with foot issues. Like, this needs to be a wake-up call. And I don't know why this guy in year 2 still doesn't have the weight in check. I mean, if this was like a rookie thing and it was like, okay, he's dealing with it like coming out of college, it was different. You know, you're 17, 18, 19-year-old, you're eating whatever's in the food, like blah, blah, blah. He's now got NFL trainers, NFL coaches, and NFL nutritional staff. He's a top 12 pick. The guy can go out there and hire his own chef to make him food whatever he wants. I mean, for crying out loud, Jamal Adams had somebody making him like different fish from all over the world every day when he was here. Like, the fact that you have all of these resources at your disposal, and we are still now just entering year 2, and we still don't know what he's supposed to weigh. We still don't know what his body is supposed to be at. And worse, he's still not there. So it's even if the Jets don't want to give us a number, even if they don't want to say we want him to weigh 370 pounds, that's it, not a dime more, not a pound more, not a pound less. Even if they don't want to tell us that, fine. If they don't want to tell us what his BMI wants to be, fine. If they don't want to tell us what his fat percentage is, fine, whatever. But what they've told us is that it's not where it's supposed to be. They haven't told us how far off. They haven't told us what it's supposed to be, but they've made it very, very clear that Mekhi Becton does not weigh and does not have the body mass of what they want him to have. And when they doesn't have what they want him to have, and now he's dealing with all of these injuries, it is a major, major, major red flag. I mean, a foot issue on an offensive lineman that has concerns with weight is a massive, massive concern. And plantar fasciitis is not something where it's like, sit down for a week and you're good, bro. I mean, this isn't like a sprained wrist or like a hurt shoulder or like you dislocated your finger. It's not like, okay, just a little bit of time off and you'll be good. Or like a hamstring injury where it's like, okay, it's going to sideline you for like a bad one, maybe like a couple months, but then you'll be back. No, plantar fasciitis lingers. Like, it lingers for a long time. And for an offensive lineman, it's got to be on his feet, has to deal with bull rushes. This could be something that Becton has to deal with the entire year and is not the player he's supposed to be because he has to deal with this the entire year. And that is a concern because this Jets offensive line, the 5 of them, when they are conceivably healthy and all on the field at the same time, Mekhi Becton left tackle, Alijah Vera-Tucker left guard, Connor McGovern center, Greg Van Roten right guard, George Font right tackle. They're not the Dallas Cowboys from a couple years ago. They're not the Philadelphia Eagles when they won the Super Bowl. They're not one of these offensive lines that is the best in the NFL. But that 5 in this blocking scheme can be pretty good, definitely serviceable. And if they really start meshing together and come together, you're talking about a group that has the chance to be good. Like, not great, not amazing, not incredible, but they won't be the reason you lose games. And for what the Jets offensive lines look like the last 3, 4, 5 years, you'll take that. What this offensive line cannot withstand and what has the chance to completely decimate this group is if these 5 guys start going down. Basically, the only place that the Jets have a little bit of depth on that offensive line is at right guard because there's not much of a drop between Greg Van Roten and Alex Lewis. Like, they both aren't very good. They're both maybe okay. But, like, if you lose Greg Van Roten and Alex Lewis goes in, it's like, okay. If Alex Lewis is the starter, he goes out and Greg Van Roten goes in, it's like, okay. I mean, it's a position you can probably improve anyway, but it's not great. Where they have problems is if Mekhi Becton goes down, like, he's not practicing right now. Connor McDermott's the Jets starting left tackle. Jabari Zuniga just beat him like a drum for a sack of Zach Wilson in 11-on-11 drills today. Like, Jabari Zuniga's got talent and some ability, but like, it's Connor McDermott. Like, the guy should not be your starting blindside protector in anything. Like, he shouldn't be your blindside protector in the AAF, let alone like the freaking NFL. Like, that shouldn't happen. If George Fant goes down, you don't really have a backup right tackle. Like, there are issues across the line with depth because, again, you build depth through drafting guys consistently, and Joe Douglas has only been now through his third or through his second draft, so he has another time to do these things. With Becton out, the Jets are having an issue. There is a legitimate now concern with this offensive line because they don't have a left tackle. And even if you move Fant over there, now you got an issue at right tackle. So this is something that's going to be worth monitoring. His weight's going to be something worth monitoring. And at this point, I don't have an answer as to why it's still not under control. But I will say that this injury that we know Mekhi Becton now has, it makes the pursuit of Morgan Moses make more sense. That to me makes a lot more sense now than what it did before. A lot more sense now than what it did before.
And that's what I was going to go to next was Saleh was asked about Morgan Moses today. He praised him, but then obviously did the typical, you got to talk to Joe Douglas about that. But knowing the situation with Becton, does that increase the chances that they do go outside? Now he visited the Jets. Since then, he's visited the Bears. He may see other teams, but he's probably monitoring these injury situations as well. So how does he fit into a situation where you hope to have Becton ready to go full steam ahead for the opening of training camp, but you also have to have some sort of insurance? So how do you bring in Moses knowing how unsure the whole situation is?
So the best way to describe it is like when that was first announced, it didn't make much sense to me because Morgan Moses is a starting offensive lineman. He's not a backup. And he's not at this point in the year going to get $15 million. Probably not. He's not going to get $13, $14, $15 million. He might not even get $10 million, but he's still a guy that's going to sign for $5, $6, $7 million a year at the minimum. He's a starter too. He's not somebody that's going to sign with a team unless he's going to play. Like that's and I'm not talking about as your swing offensive lineman either in like jumbo packages. Like he's going to start. Like that's the player he is. So with the Jets pursuing him, I was kind of like, well, where does he fit on the offensive line? Because the Jets could have gotten out of George Fant's contract this year. Like it was basically a 1-year deal, but his $8 million base salary for 2021 became fully guaranteed on the 5th day of the league year. The Jets are not going to pay George Fant $8 million to not play. And because that contract is now fully guaranteed, they can't cut him. So George Fant is going to be on the field. Mekhi Becton, obviously, when healthy, is going to be on the field. So Morgan Moses, I was like, if you sign him, are you going to move Fant to right guard and replace Greg Van Roten? And I was like, okay, that maybe could work because Fant's an athlete. But the whole reason that Fant signed with the Jets was because they told him you're going to play one position only. You can finally focus on that. Because in Seattle, he had to play all over. Tight end, left tackle, right tackle. Never got a chance as a converted, basically, basketball player in college. He never got a chance to just focus on one position. So that's what he wanted to do with the Jets, was focus on one position. When they drafted Becton, he got a chance to focus on right tackle. I was like, I don't think now, and he's never played guard before where he would know how to do it. I don't think they're going to move him to right guard. I was like, so what are they doing? Is Moses really going to be a backup? Are they really going to pay Fant $8 million to ride the bench? Like that's not what teams do. Like that's why the Jets are in this issue right now with Jamison Crowder. They're trying to get him a pay cut. I mean, you don't pay people that much money to be a backup. Like it would work in Madden, but that's just not how it works in real life. Learning about the Becton injury, it's almost like an aha, because like I said, plantar fasciitis lasts. That's not a 1 or 2 week thing. I know Becton can get back on the field, but this is still going to be something they're going to have to monitor throughout the year. You go online, read about plantar fasciitis. It's a 6-month recovery without surgery. Like, yeah, you can manage the pain. You can do things. It's still like a 6-month recovery where you feel like you're the same. I mean, what does 6 months on June get us to? I got to bring out the fingers to count it out, but I know it's not ideal. Like, it's seriously, like, I know. Yeah. So, okay. So there we go. So that's what's going to be underneath Becton's tree is a fixed foot. Like, so there you go. So it's like, it's like, this is a problem. And if Becton tries to go, or if Becton goes in training camp and then gets re-injured, or Becton goes down again, or Becton actually can't go in the regular season, or he starts missing time in the regular season, as we were just talking about, the next man up is Connor McDermott, and that is a problem. That's an issue. So getting Moses almost makes some sense because it's like an insurance policy you're going to enact on. It's almost like getting car insurance knowing you're about to drive your car off a bridge. Like, it's like, what's going to happen, so you got to do it. And he would allow the Jets to take Fant, who can play left tackle, and move him to left tackle. Moses can then play right tackle. Then you have Fant left, Vera-Tucker left guard, Connor McGovern center. Right guard is Alex Lewis or Greg Van Roten. Right tackle is Morgan Moses. Like, that's what it allows you to do. And after hearing this talk is kind of when I was like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. And probably the reason why the Jets haven't signed him yet, or why the Jets didn't make him like, $10 million, is because they know Becton's still going to come back. So it's still an insurance. I mean, the best case scenario for the Jets is Becton left tackle, Fant right tackle. That's what they want. They want those two guys with then Vera-Tucker and pick your poison at right guard. That's what they want. So if that's still possible and they like those odds, they're not going to go give Moses, $9 million to ride the bench. That's just not going to happen. But you can tell they're doing their homework, because the thought is at least in their head that even when Becton gets back on the field, there's a chance that that's not really Becton, that that's 50% of Becton, or that's 60% of Becton, or is that 70% of Becton? And how long is 70% of Becton going to last before you get 0% of Becton and he gets hurt again? And if he doesn't get his weight under control, it's going to happen. I mean, I think the stat was, I think Costello said it at practice the other day, Becton played less snaps last year than Sam Darnold, and Sam missed like a month. And Becton played less snaps than him. So there's a legitimate concern there with his durability, and it all stems from his size. And it's something that obviously we're gonna be monitoring for a good long while.
It was in our Jets bingo game, was Mekhi Becton leaves game with mysterious injury, and then Mekhi Becton returns to field later in game. There were two of the spots. Yeah, it happened every single game. All right, yep. So we should talk a little bit about Crowder as well. Not at practice because of a contract situation. The situation is he's scheduled to make $10 million this year, right? And the Jets would like to have him on the team, but they don't want to pay him that amount of money. So I guess the question for you, Connor, is Robert Saleh sounded very confident today, but it's his job to sound confident. Are you confident that they're able to find a common ground with Crowder to bring him back for a lesser amount?
I mean, this is just the ugly business side of the sport. I mean, because the Jets signed Jamison Crowder to that contract 2 years ago, and the out in that contract came in year 3. And in all likelihood, they probably were thinking about, we'll probably just cut him after 2 years and it'll be fine, or we'll extend him after 2 years and we'll push that money back. Jamison Crowder is not a $10, $11 million a year receiver. He's a good player. Obviously, he was the Jets' leading receiver the last 2 years, but he was the Jets' leading receiver the last 2 years because they basically had no one else. I mean, who was going to steal receptions from him? Jeff Smith, Josh Malone, those were the guys that for a large portion of last year were competing for playing time with Jamison Crowder. So obviously, Sam Darnold trying anything that he can do to find a receiver started going to Crowder over and over and over again. He's a good player. The Jets are better with him on there, but he's not a great player. The business side of this is that when you have a player that is making X amount of money, and that X amount of money is completely unguaranteed, which is basically what Crowder's I think he's like an $11.75 million cap hit this year. 1 million of that is guaranteed. Like 1 million, it's his prorated signing bonus is the only thing that's left of like what the Jets would have to pay with cap hits. So they would free 10 million. The Jets know that if they were to cut Jamison Crowder right now, the most he's getting from any other team is $3 or $4 million. Like that is the most that he's going to get from any other team. So why should the Jets, from a business perspective, pay Jamison Crowder $10 million when they know they can cut him, free $6 million, and know he's only going to get $4 million elsewhere? It's basically what they did to Alex Lewis. They went to Alex Lewis and said, you don't have any guaranteed money left in your contract. We're not paying you $5.5 million. So you can accept this revised contract, or we're going to cut you, and you can go and get $1 or $2 million from some other team, or have no team sign you. Like that. Those are your options. So Alex Lewis accepted it. With Alex Lewis, I get it, because Alex Lewis is going to be your backup. I don't understand why you do it to Jamison, because much like we're talking about with the offensive line, where if Becton goes down or Fant goes down, you're in some real deep shit. If you lose Elijah Moore, if you lose Denzel Mims, if you lose Corey Davis, the Jets receiving core is in trouble. Right now, they are in a very fortunate position where, while they're not the Dallas Cowboys with, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, and who's that? I forget the other guy they have, Michael Gallup. Well, you're not like the Dallas Cowboys, which basically have 2 number 1 receivers and then a really good upper echelon number 2 wideout. The Jets are in a very rare position for this team where they have a lot of talent at receiver, where they got Corey Davis, a good player, Denzel Mims they're high on. Braxton Berrios is a guy who can play in the slot. Obviously, they just invested a high pick in Elijah Moore, who looks really good. And then you have Jamison Crowder. You got 5 guys who can play and contribute and make plays on Sunday. That's a good thing. And I know that they technically don't have to pay Jamison Crowder. And I know Jamison Crowder is technically overpaid. But I don't understand why you go after the guy's money when you don't necessarily need it. Because the Jets right now have $27 million in salary cap space. They can go sign whoever they want in free agency and still be loaded for the next couple of years. They don't need an extra $10 million from Crowder. I mean, they have $27 million with that $11 million cap penalty for Crowder on their roster. So it's like, why? Like, I don't understand why they're doing it other than the business side of things. And the Jets haven't exactly had a sterling reputation the last couple of years, going back to Kelechi Osemele, some of the rumors with CJ Mosley and his groin, obviously with Adam Gase and his player relations, Le'Veon Bell. They don't exactly have this sterling reputation right now with players and what they mean for player relations. To go after a guy that's been your leading receiver the last 2 years for money that you don't need, it's almost like you're just making a business decision because that's the business decision that you think you should make. I mean, if the Jets were like the Jets had Crowder on this deal and they saw, Becton went down for the year and they were like, we need to go sign Morgan Moses. We have $1 million in salary cap space. We need this money to go sign Morgan Moses. I get it, because you're going after Crowder's money to get the money and then use it elsewhere. Like, I get that. You're basically like, look, we're going to have to cut you because we need to fix another position. The Jets are basically going after Jamison Crowder's money just to go after Jamison Crowder's money because they think he's overpaid. And is he overpaid? Yes. Is he worth $11 million a year? No. But if you don't need the money, why go and get it? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And I know that Saleh was very like, no, absolutely he'll be on the team this year. And yeah, we have a role for him, and I can't wait to see him. I think Saleh does a very good job of separating himself from the business side of things, where Joe and his people handle the business and Saleh coaches the team. And that doesn't mean Saleh isn't involved in, like, I want to target this guy, isn't involved in the draft. That's not what I'm saying. But I think when it comes to business decisions, which is why he made the comment when he first got hired about how players should get as much money as they can possibly get, I think Saleh's like, I don't want to know about contracts. I don't want to know about the negotiations of contract. I want to take care of my guys and be my guys' friend and be my guys' coach and teach them and help them and coach on the field. You guys take care of all that stuff. So it would not surprise me to see the Jets go to Saleh and be like, hey, we're cutting Crowder because we couldn't figure it out. And then Saleh calls up Crowder and be like, I'm so sorry. I didn't want this to happen. And he really didn't. He genuinely did. But for me, like I said, I don't think they're doing right by him. I don't see the point in doing this, and I don't understand why you do this other than you can. You know what I mean? It's almost like when you get in trouble with your parents, or like your parents tell you like you can't do something, and they're why? Like, well, because I'm the parent and I say so. It's almost like that. Like, they just have this power and they're executing it when they don't have to. And to me, it doesn't make sense. And it's not even about pushing money forward to next year, because Crowder is on the final year of his deal. He's off the books next year. Crowder's gone next year. So you can. That $10 million is going to be there in 2022 anyway. So, in my opinion, I would let him make $10 million this year. Who cares? Like, who cares? It doesn't matter because it doesn't affect your bottom line. You still have almost $30 million in salary cap space. It doesn't affect you in 2022. It doesn't matter. So just, why are you doing this? Get him in camp, let him get his chemistry down, and realize you're a better team with Denzel Mims split wide, Corey Davis split wide, Elijah Moore in the slot one way, and Jamison Crowder in the slot one way, and rotating in Keelan Cole when you want somebody to go deep. It's just to me, man. I understand it from a business perspective. I don't understand it from a personal perspective because it doesn't have to be done. And it's like I said, it's like the Jets are just doing it because they can do it, and that to me, that's just it's not how I would operate.
Well, and they'll probably get their way because you mentioned it. If they do cut him, he's not going to get the money somewhere else. So he's better off taking a little less and staying. But it is a killer because new coaching staff, new offense, new quarterback. You got to have the guy out there. So get something done. All right, one more thing. We started with the quarterback. We got to end with the lack of a backup quarterback, Connor. They still haven't made a move. There are still veterans available. You've seen White. And you've seen Morgan, you've seen these guys out there in practice. They're not going to cut it, right?
Yeah. It's time. It's time. I'm just tweeting this out because I forgot to do this. It's enough's enough. I just because you go acquire a backup via trade, via signing, whatever, or adjusted contract, I don't know. Zach Wilson's still going to get all the first team reps. He's still going to get the same number of reps he is now. But giving these reps to Mike White, giving these reps to James Morgan. James Morgan is not ready to be a backup quarterback. He's not ready to be a number 2. Maybe next year. Right now, he is not ready to be a backup quarterback. Mike White is not an NFL quarterback. Mike White's not an NFL quarterback. James Morgan's not ready to be a backup quarterback. So what are we doing here? That's honestly, when I was watching practice today, Zach Wilson was struggling a little bit, but as I'm sitting there watching Mike White and James Morgan just poo-poo all over the field, I'm like, what the hell are we doing here?
Right, because they're not helping Wilson either. That's the thing. You need the veteran to help the rookie.
Yeah, it's the blind leading the blind, basically. It's it's enough is enough. Just go get the backup. This isn't about where the Jets haven't signed a veteran corner because they want to see the young guys play. This isn't about this. Mike White is not going to be your number 2 quarterback week 1. James Morgan is not going to be your number 2 quarterback week 1. If anything, having those 2 guys go number 2 and number 3 for Zach Wilson is actually a detriment to Zach Wilson because they're not helping him in any way. I mean, if you were to go out there and sign Nick Foles, and I know people are being on me, why do you keep saying Nick Foles? Why do you keep saying Nick Foles? Why do you keep saying Nick Foles? It's just because the connections are so obvious, where he knows Joe Douglas, he's available, and he's been there, done that. But the been there, done that part is so valuable because in practice moments, in game moments, Nick Foles will do things based off of veteran experience that Zach Wilson can see. Things that Mike White ain't going to do. Things that James Morgan ain't going to do. Nick Foles will do because he's a veteran. Is he a great quarterback? No. But he is a veteran who has veteran experience, who knows what to do in certain situations. Zach Wilson will learn by observing that. So while he's still getting his first team reps, doing all those things, when he's standing next to Mike LaFleur, watching the second team offense go and watching the third team offense go, he can watch and observe how Nick Foles, a veteran quarterback who has been in it and done it and won at the highest level, which is why he has a Super Bowl ring on his finger and why Joe Douglas has a third, he'll be able to see and observe these things, and he will be better for it. Having a veteran quarterback helps a young rookie, even if that veteran quarterback doesn't play. So this isn't about getting a veteran quarterback and giving that veteran quarterback first team reps till Zach Wilson's ready. That's clearly not happening. Zach Wilson's going to be the guy receiving all first team reps in mandatory minicamp and training camp, preseason, and the regular season. But get the veteran in there to help Wilson on the practice field, to help Wilson in the film room, to make him better and make his life easier. Because right now, it's enough is enough. Just go get the backup. Go get the number 2 quarterback. Just get him and you're going to do it anyway. It's going to happen eventually. So just do it already because it's going to help Zach. It's going to help the offense. It's going to help everything move forward. I've seen enough of this of White. I've seen enough of Morgan. It's just, I'm done. I don't want the young guys to get reps. I don't want them to get their learning experiences and OTAs. Enough. The only guy that's worth learning and developing is Zach Wilson. So go get the backup so we can start learning this offense as well. Help Zach Wilson to move forward. It's just enough's enough. It's just, it's what are we doing here? What is the point? You're grooming Mike White for what? For his next job at some accounting firm? It ain't going to be in the NFL. It's not. He's not an NFL quarterback. That's just a fact. James Morgan might not be an NFL quarterback, but at least he has enough talent where the Jets drafted him, so they're going to keep developing him. But just go get the veteran and move on with this thing, because this whole like Mike White, James Morgan after Zach Wilson, it makes no sense to me. Like literally, there's times where I'm looking at practice, I'm like, I can't believe there's no veteran here. Like I can't believe there's no veteran. It's mind-boggling. It really is mind-boggling.
You sound like a guy who got a ticket on his way down the New Jersey Turnpike. Go ahead. That's how we're gonna end it now. You don't get to rant at the beginning.
I'm still so pissed. I'm so like, so I use Apple CarPlay. Like people talk to me like, you guys have made fun of me for like texting and driving. I don't text and drive. Like I use Apple CarPlay for everything. In fact, my friends now make fun of me because it says sent by Siri, and they're like, "Wow, you're really talking into your phone." I'm like, "No, I'm using Apple CarPlay." So after practice today, like the Jets don't serve food still because of COVID, and I forgot to bring food. So I was like, I'm hungry. I've got to find a place to go. And I didn't want to go to like fast food because I don't eat fast food. So I was like, oh, I'll find a Wawa on my way home. So I did. Found a Wawa, stopped there, got like a wrap and whatever, ate that and my fruit in my car. And then I like get in my car. I'm driving around a brand new area that I've never been, because it took me off my route into Millstone, wherever the hell that is, to go get like took me to like Bridgestone or Bridgewater to go get Wawa. Yeah, and then do you know any cops in Millstone? Because I got pulled over by a cop. So
it wasn't even a state. It wasn't a New Jersey.
No,
state
it was
cop.
like it was like a township local cop, and that's like so that's how you know I got screwed. So I go through Bridgewater, end up going into Millstone, and I'm driving, and for whatever reason, like my phone plugs into a magnet on my car, and so as I'm driving, my phone is my GPS. Like it's plugged into Apple CarPlay for my GPS. I don't know where I am. My phone falls off my magnet. So I'm like, oh shit, it falls off into the passenger seat. So I grab my phone out of my passenger seat and I bring it up like this and I'm putting it back on the magnet. The cop drives by and sees me like this with my phone. And so sure enough, like all of a sudden, like I see the cop like quick, there's a car behind me. I see the cop quick turn around. I'm like, oh wow, I guess somebody was speeding. I look at my speedometer, like I'm going speed limit, so it's not me. And the guy goes like the car behind me moves over to the side. So I'm like, oh, he must have gotten a call. He's going to like save somebody. So I pull off to the side. Guy pulls off to the side with me. And I'm like, well, maybe it wasn't Bridgewater then, Steven. I don't know where the hell I was.
I just looked it up too. I was like, yeah. I'm from like by Bridgewater.
I was in Millstone.
We got a comment that said Bridgewater.
I was in Somerset County. Somerset County. Yeah, Bridgewater is actually by the shore. I'm not near Bridgewater.
Maybe you were by like Millington or Martinsville. Martinsville is right.
Marissa, I have no idea. I'm in randomville, where there happens to be a Wawa. I'm 10 minutes past where the Wawa is. So I'm driving, phone falls off, the cop pulls the lights over, goes all over me. I'm obviously he pulls up behind me. I'm like, I'm getting pulled over. I've been driving since I was 17. I don't have a single ticket or point on my license ever. I've been in 2 accidents. Neither of them were my fault. Once I was rear-ended by a drunk driver. Once I was rear-ended by a kid who was texting behind me and pushed me into oncoming traffic, totaled my car. It was a real traumatic experience. Very scary. So I'm like pulled over the guy. He comes up to my window, and like I do the whole thing, like you're supposed to put your hands on your wheel and turn off your car because like you don't want him to think you have anything on you. And like I have my wheels up there. He goes license and registration and proof of insurance. Give him all those things. Doesn't just immediately leaves. Comes back. He goes, you had your phone in your hand. And I'm like, oh shit. I was like, I didn't even know that's what you got me for. I was like, officer, I'm so sorry. I was like, my phone fell off my GPS. I was like, my phone's my GPS. I was like, it fell off my mount. I was just putting it back on. I'm sorry about that. I was like, and he goes, you have to pull off the side of the road before you do that. And I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, I don't usually drive around here. I was just trying to get my GPS back up. I was like, I was just plugging my phone back in. He just hands me a ticket. And I'm like, well, shit. I was like, all right, whatever. It's what, like, I'm figuring, okay, he got me for holding my phone. It's probably like a $100 to $200 fine. Like, yeah, that's not a hit exactly I want to take, but it's like, at this point, I just want to go home. Like, I just want to go home. And I'm like, all right. I was like, he goes, your court date is June 14th. I'm like, I look at him like, court date? I was like, what the hell did you get me for? I was like, I was putting my phone on my GPS. I was like, I didn't run anyone over. I was like, what did you? He goes, if you get any cell phone infraction in New Jersey, I looked this up. It's a new rule since like 2015. If you get any cell phone infraction in New Jersey, it is an automatic court date. You can't just pay it online. So I'm like, how much is this ticket going to be? So I go online and I read about it. It's literally like worst case, like it's because it's my first infraction, whatever, because I don't have I have no points or anything on my license. So it's going to be like $150 fine, no points on my license. And I have to go to court. to pay it. And I'm looking at the guy. I was like, sir, I have no tickets ever in 12 years. I have no points on my license. I was like, I'm getting married like 10 days after this. I was like, is there any chance? I was like, I've had a day, man. I was like, is there any chance that we can just do anything else that doesn't involve me going to court? He goes, no, hands me the ticket and walks away. I was like, it was like one of those like.
Should have said I had to watch James Morgan play quarterback today. And now you're giving me
like, dude. I was like, I don't. Yeah, pulled the don't you know who I am? And I was like,
So
clearly
you
he's
have
not
to go
Jets
to
fan.
the Somerset County courthouse?
I have to go to the Millstone Borough Municipal Court.
Okay, that is not Somerset County.
Yeah, it's in Somerset County. Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, I know because Bree and I are looking to potentially move to Millstone, so I know it's in Somerset.
No,
it's like
we're not moving there now.
Yeah, now I'm a wanted man.
Somerset
I told Bree got a raise at work at Chop, and I told her, I was like, good thing. I was like, I can't support you from jail. And I was like, Jesus. I was like, this was like the guy comes in and goes, you have to go to court. I was like, court? I was like, what the hell did I do? I mean, I'm looking over the ticket too. No speeding, no this, no that. It was like dry. It was dry weather, light, clear, cell phone. I was like, I dropped my phone. Like, just drop my, just putting it on. He's like, you had your phone in your hand. I was like, dude, I'm really sorry, but like, I don't get in trouble with police officers. I'm a really nice guy, I promise. He's like, just had none of it. It was like, well, I know this where I'm from, like the Medford cops. Like when you have those county cops, they're tough, man. Like they're not like state troopers are usually more like lax, like they'd be like more understanding. Like I've been pulled over by those before, and they always look at my record and they're like, oh, you've never been in trouble before, you're good. This guy wanted no part of it. This guy was like, he was coming for me. He hated gingers. I'm convinced. Hated gingers.
So, question. I think I speak
or it was a Patriot fan. One of the two.
I think I speak on behalf of the chat. Was the Wawa worth it?
No, I did get Mike and Ike's though, and that was no. You know what? That's like the whole butterfly effect of like if this then that. Like if I had just eaten in my car instead of staying, like I stayed in the Wawa parking lot and ate the sandwich. If I had just eaten in the car and kept driving, this probably doesn't happen. If I had just gone straight home, doesn't happen because I'm on the highway the whole time in cruise control, just listening to music, driving, going through some random place and some just officer happened to be driving by, and at the exact time my phone falls off the mount. Like how about that? And now I got to go to court. I'm a wanted man. I'm a fugitive, basically.
So if anybody listening to this podcast or watching this podcast is a lawyer,
mail me one of those get out of jail free cards.
Yeah, wants to represent Connor in traffic court.
Is there any lawyers? Yeah, can somebody? That's the other thing too. Is like I read online, like I was gonna fight it because I'm like, this is bullshit. But like I looked it up and it's like
you definitely can't fight that one. Yeah.
No, the rule in Jersey is like it's if the phone is in your hand. Like it's not about texting, calling. So I was like, I'll give you my damn records. Like there's no texting. I didn't text anyone. So I was like, I'll give you my records, my phone records, my text records, all that stuff. But they said like, no, it's like it could be I was changing the song on Spotify. Like just like if my Spotify's up and I'm pressing the button to change the song, they can hit you for that. Like it just the guy wanted to get me. Now I'm a criminal. Yeah, you know I got that orange BMS shirt. It's a good thing I got to get more orange now. Orange pinstripes.
Zach Jackson.
And I'm not going to do good in court. Like you know that I am the least clutch person in the world. The juror, what do I call her? Her or him? Judge? Your Honor? She's going to say like Connor Hughes. I'm going to start sobbing, screaming, I'm sorry. I didn't do it. I'm a
Zach
good boy.
Wilson warned about those New Jersey drivers.
That's right.
We heard all about that last week.
He was talking about Connor.
New Jersey drivers.
The crazy thing too is we have this expansion draft story that's supposed to be done on the same day as my court date. I'm gonna have to tell Allison that, like, hey, I don't know if I can do this because I have to go to court. Like, how about that? The worst I ever got was an in-school suspension once. That's the worst trouble I've ever been in, and now I have to go to court. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. What do you wear to court? Do I have to wear a suit? I probably should.
I went to traffic court.
Overdress. Oh, you did?
I went to traffic court once, and I had my registration had expired, and I got pulled over. But I was trying to move at the time from South Dakota back to the East Coast, so I went into court and I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm moving, so I didn't get it redone because it just expired a month ago." They actually let me off. They just made me pay the court fee, which was like $20. But
How long were you there for? That's the other thing I'm curious.
Yeah, a couple hours. But I wore a suit. And if you wear a suit, you will be by far the best dressed person in traffic court. I'll tell you that much, at least in South Dakota.
Just remember your pants.
New Jersey traffic court may be a little different, but South Dakota traffic
you go to a wedding in South Dakota wearing a suit, you'd be the best dressed man. I want to hear the Tim story. How the hell are you in South Dakota? That's a wild one.
First job out of college. Got to start somewhere, right? I was the weekend sports anchor at KOTA TV in Rapid City.
There you go.
Good times. It's
Somebody
actually a
asked me
lot.
how I got my
It was
in-school
great, but
suspension.
it was great for 2 years, and then it was time to go.
There we go. Someone asked me how I got my in-school suspension. This will probably come as a very big surprise, but it was from talking consistently.
I was just gonna say.
So I had in my senior year, I had sex ed after lunch with the two people that are my two best men at my wedding were in the class with me. So you can understand how 18-year-old Connor Hughes in sex ed coming off of lunch, like, so you're like all jittered up and ready to go off of lunch into sex ed with your two best friends was a recipe for disaster. And I got sent down to the office and written up like every day for cracking jokes and talking. But what is wild, and I will go down in the boat saying, this is my last thing I'm saying, is what I actually got the ISS for. I wasn't even talking. So I realized I was on like short order because I had been written up twice and I knew a third one meant in school suspension, weekend suspension. You had to go and clean the school on Saturday. Like, it wasn't even ISS. It was like I went to school on Saturday for 3 hours and had to like clean the trophy cases and stuff, like with all of the like druggies. Like, it was wild. I was like, I so didn't fit in. But so I knew I was in trouble. So I was like, you know what? I was pissed at the teacher. I was like, I'm going to sleep throughout class. Can't get in trouble for talking if I sleep. So I literally put my head down like this on the desk, like had my head down like this. My asshole friend Matt made like this sound when she started talking about sex ed. I literally lifted my head like this. She looked at Matt and goes, "You office." She looked at me. She goes, "You with him?" And I was like, I didn't even do anything. I was like, I was sleeping. And she goes, "No, I heard you." I was like, snoring? Like, what did you hear me do? And I go down, and what's wild is like the teacher that like got me in trouble, her daughter was best friends with my sister. So she used to come to my house all the time to like drop like her daughter Sarah off to play at the house. I was like, "Hey, Miss Wren, remember when you gave me in school or Saturday detention, Saturday suspension, whatever the hell they called it at Seneca?" Yeah, wild. I got a nice little verbal beat down from Mama Hughes for that one. She was not happy.
The cop that pulls you over today was probably like the son of that teacher.
He was a young guy. I thought we'd
connected.
bond. He seemed like thought he was a nice, super young dude. Like, was like, I was
Probably
like, "Hey
an
man," I was
Eagles
like,
fan.
I called him sir. Probably, yeah. Probably, I was like, "Dude," I was like, "I'm really sorry." I was like, "I was just putting my phone back up." Nope, wanted none of it. You have a court order. I was like, "Holy shit, dude!" Like, fuck. I texted Bree. She just was like, "LOL." I was like, "Yeah, thanks." I was like I said, good thing she got her little raise at shop because she's gonna have to support herself while I'm locked up.
All right,
On
I think
that
we've
So by the way, I'm sure watch the judge at Millstone Borough Municipal Court is a can't wait loyal listener is going to hear me like trashing this ticket, and I'm going to go there and she's going to give me like the maximum fine,
gonna throw you
90
in
days
prison.
community service, going to put me in jail for my wedding. Like, oh, it's going to be great.
That would actually be a great story. So
we should actually do a show that day, the day of
Do
Connor's
a show
court
from behind
appearance.
bars.
Yeah.
What do you think the Wi-Fi's like there? Well, yeah, you're not gonna have a fish tank behind me. You're gonna have like Big Bob, my cellmate. Oh, it's gonna be great.
All right. And on that note, let's wrap this one up. If you want to join The Athletic, great deals always running right now, $3.99 a month. Go to theathletic.com/the Can't Wait podcast. We're going to be back again next week because OTAs go on. 2 more sessions. We'll be back to fill you in on how everybody looks. Zach Wilson, we'll see if Crowder makes it to the field by then, and maybe Mekhi Becton will practice. All that and more coming up next week on the next episode of Can't Wait.